In the first line we have the file name comment, indicating that this is our server component JS file. This convention helps keep our codebase organized and easy to navigate. Here, we're importing our DB object from a database module. This is where our server-side data access logic would be contained. Next, we import the admin panel React server component. The server extension indicates that this is a component that will only be rendered on the server. Similarly, we import the user dashboard server component, again designated by the server extension. And lastly, for imports, we bring in the guest welcome component for unauthenticated users, following the same server component convention. Now we define our server component as a functional component that accepts user as a prop. This user object will determine which components we render. We declare a variable named content. This will later hold the component we decide to render based on our conditions. We're including a comment here to remind us that the following code block will contain the server-side logic to decide which content to render. First, we check if the user object exists. This typically signifies that the user is logged in. Within this block, we have a nested if statement that checks if the user has an isAdmin property set to true. If our user is an admin, we set the content variable to the admin panel component, passing in the user prop. If the user is not an admin, we move on to the else branch of our conditional. Here we assign the user dashboard component to our content variable, including the user in the props. This closes our nested if statement within the first condition. If there is no user object, which means no user is logged in, we handle this scenario in our else block. For guests, or unauthenticated users, we set content to the guest welcome component, which doesn't need any user information passed to it. This closes our main if-else block, finalizing our server-side selection logic. Finally, we return the content variable, which at this point in the code, is the component that corresponds to our user's status. This closes off our server component function. When this component is used, it'll render the appropriate content for the given user state.